I've got a feeling there's some powers that shouldn't be, don't want us to have these conversations for whatever reason. So welcome everybody, or should I say all the ladies that have turned up today, welcome. It's the 14th of July and it's 2025 and it's the Monday and we're whistling through this year like unbelievable. I hope everyone's managing to cope with this unusual weather. Been a lot of unprecedented things, haven't there, in the last few years, and this is one of them. So I was quite interested today to just a small group, just to have a little chat with you about what you think this is, and I'll speak to you about that in a moment. But just first of all, just so we can all bring ourselves into the unity consciousness, if you could be so kind as to just, or I invite you, don't have to do anything, obviously you're a free sovereign human being, but hi Richard. Oh, he's unmuted. We're just going to tune in and bring our consciousness into the oneness by closing our eyes, maybe connecting with a part of you that feels safe. It might be your belly, it might be your chest, it might be your head, it might be your forehead, just somewhere which feels really comfortable and relaxing for you. Because I'm all about coming into the body, about being embodied, bringing the divine energy that we all hold into the body so that we can express ourselves on a divine level. So if you just like to bring yourself into a nice relaxed breathing pattern. Now, there are many ways in which people breathe. Some people just breathe to bring stuff up through their mouth. So you could do mouth breathing, but unless you feel comfortable doing that, I probably recommend just breathing in slowly through the nose and just seeing if you can bring that breath into the belly, into the expansion of our beautiful instrument. So the belly is the first place the breath hits. So just see if you can bring the breath into the belly. So it's like you're blowing up a balloon and your belly is the balloon. And then if you can extend that breath into the rib cage and then into the chest, and then you're getting a full capacity of your breath, and just doing a few breaths, focusing on that, the breathing in and the exhalation of the breath. And I tend to breathe in through the nose and then breathe out through pursed lips on the exhalation. So we'll just do a few breaths and bring ourselves grounded into the body. So just take a nice deep breath in. We'll just allow the body to completely deflate all your aching muscles, if you've got any, a bit of a sore back maybe. Maybe you feel tense around the back of your neck, or maybe you've got a slight feeling of unease. So the breath is always about bringing you into the connection with the inspiration and with the body. And just notice if there's any uncomfortableness, any place where you're not feeling relaxed. Maybe you need to have a nice big stretch just to release any tension or any built up energy that is not in the right place. Breathe it out. It's great to spend some time connecting with yourself every day. Just noticing what's going on within you, because if you're not aware of what is happening inside of you, you then can get confused when you meet other people that is it their energy you're picking up on, or is it your energy? So it's always good, especially if you're going to move out into meeting people. What's mine and what may be theirs? And then maybe a lovely little sigh, a couple of sighs on the exhalation of your breath, just to squeeze everything out and to connect with your vibration. Maybe stretch. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for indulging my need to connect. And I hope everyone is well. Richard, if you can come on camera, it'd be lovely to see. But if not, please feel free to also speak if you want to say anything. So what's been going on? Well, quite a lot, hasn't there, energetically wise on the planet. There seems to be a lot of movement happening all over the place. Obviously, we've had a lot of very hot weather here on England. So first of all, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about lovely, hot, warm weather, or do you find it too oppressive? I always thought when you heat a kettle up, the vibration, the molecules of the water are heated and heated and heated, and then it goes into steam. So I always see that as like a spirit form of ourselves, is the steam energy. And obviously, as we vibrate higher with the heat, we tend to, well, I always feel we should feel more energized. But quite often people feel drained by the heat, as opposed to it sort of raising our frequency or our level. So first of all, how do you feel about it? How does it affect you? It's a natural form of heat. I've noticed how powerful the sun is. It feels a lot stronger. Like when you're in the tropics, it feels that kind of heat. So how does that feel for you? What do you feel is going on with the weather? And then all around the world, obviously, we've had a lot of constantly on social media, all the sadness that goes on around all the floods in Texas and what's happened. And did anyone hear about the guy who was cloud seeding in that area just before the flood happened? And obviously a lot of sadness around that. So there's a lot of, and also water represents our grief, our sadness, our letting go, letting the flow. So the water is also cleansing a lot of our emotional stagnation on the planet. Has also been going on in Mexico as well. So what are we feeling about what's going on in terms of, is it a reflection of what's happening on an internal level with all of us? Are you going through any particular feelings? Do you feel dumbed down? Or are you feeling very elevated and uplifted with this kind of change in the summer heat? We've had the summer solstice. We're now moving into the sort of last part of our summer. And how is it affecting you, and how are you feeling? And is it feeling motivating you to want to get out there and do things? Or are you feeling like just slowing down and putting your feet up? And one of the things I was really interested in looking at, because it's been sort of the end of school holiday, end of term, sorry. And a friend of mine went to a school sports day. Only it's not actually a sports day anymore, because so traditionally a lot of the little races the children have is, remember, the egg and spoon and the three-legged race. Well, apparently they don't have everyone lined up and everyone running, hurtling to the end with the rope. The teachers holding that little bit of ribbon as the kids zoom through with their egg and spoon. Apparently, they now, and of course, I've not been to a primary school for ages, so my children are all grown up. I don't know if anyone's got grandchildren that have been to a primary school or the sports day, but apparently the competition is no longer, and it was a never-ending sports day because every single child had to run with their egg and spoon on their own, and they had to do it for every single child. They couldn't actually run together because they don't think competition is a nice thing for children, that they're going to actually going to upset the children. So that is just the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. And when I'm looking at watching, I don't know if anybody watches Wimbledon. I grew up with it. My mother was absolutely obsessed with Wimbledon. We couldn't speak for 2 weeks, and luckily we actually get fed because of Wimbledon. And I actually remember I was in my garage getting my MOT done, and I'd had my card misused, so I cancelled it. So my mum said, "Oh, just phone me from the garage and I'll give them my number and pay for it." So I remember phoning up and then saying, "All right, we're just going to phone your mum." And they said, I said, "Hi, Mum, it's me." And she just screamed at me down the phone. The whole garage heard go, "What you doing phoning me? It's Wimbledon." And I just put the phone down on me. And I thought that is where a level of obsession that I've never experienced. She's gotten worse. Anyway, so you don't speak to my mum for 2 weeks. But looking at how amazing these people, when they come to planet Earth, they want to focus on being the best they possibly can, to extend their ability and their talents, and to really test their gifts, and to see how they can express and expand their brilliant skills they've got. and that you do need other people to sort of like compete against to bring out the best. That's how I feel. But what do you feel? Do you feel competition is good, or do you feel it's upsetting people too much to not be the best and to come second or third or fourth or even last? Is that good for us to actually have that experience of not always winning, or does it help us to excel the human race? Do you remember the Olympians? Obviously, the Olympics has been going on since Mount Olympus, and how all the gods were all absolutely brilliant with all these gifts and talents. Does it give us something to reach up to, or are we being very cruel to compete against each other and make people feel bad because they're not the best? So that's one thing I'd love to hear what your feelings are on that. And then your reaction buttons are down at the bottom. So just put your hand up and I will come straight to you. There's only a very small group, so if you don't speak, you're going to have me wittering on for the whole time, which could get a bit annoying. And the other thing I was going to sort of talk about was, as you know, and Karina as well have been on I've just finished our course, the Sacred Journey of Mary Magdalene through the south of France. And one of the things that really struck me was when we talk about the second coming, is it actually the rise of the divine feminine energy to bring about the balance, what's happening on the planet? So is it all of us, including the men with their feminine energy, is that rising up? Is that what the second coming is? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And also some other things that are maybe not quite so uplifting to talk about. But has anyone heard of I think it's called the Kalergi Plan? Anybody know about the Kalergi Plan? Which is basically the extinction of the white race, a deliberate ploy to basically genocide the white race because they're not compliant as other races. And so they're hoping to amalgamate all the races and to create mass migration into the white European countries to eliminate the Eddie White race. So how do you feel about that? So who's going to go first? Who wants to speak on any of those subjects, or of course any subject whatsoever that you feel is wanting to burgeon, because you may have had something you wanted to come to the table with, so all that's fine as well. I just like to have a few areas that I'm interested in at the moment. So we'll come over to Corrine, and if you'd like to unmute yourself, Corrine.
I've had my hand up since the beginning, Sass. That's not
fair. Rachel, it's a very pale hand. You need to darken it.
What you mean? I need to go sort of less white British.
Yes, you need to go. Exactly. We need you to colour in your hands a bit of a darker colour if possible, and then we won't offend people. So Rachel, so Val, really sorry, but Rachel had a hand up first, so I've got to first come first serve. So if you'd like to put your hand up, then mute, Rachel. We'd love to hear from you on any of those subjects or your own.
Just to pick up on a few things that you said, Sass. So first of all, this thing about winning, and I had a real childhood with 4 brothers of winning is an obsession. Everyone had to be the winner. So I do actually, and this idea of creating winners, for every winner there's a load of losers, and it is a form of division, and it is that competition. I actually, looking back at my childhood, I don't think it is healthy. But I just remember what Juliet Yelverton used to say to us, our trauma healing trainer, therapist, Juliet Yelverton from Healing Waters in Glastonbury. She used to say, remember, you are already a winner because you're the one sperm out of all those thousands or millions of sperm. You are the sperm that made it to the egg. So you started life as a winner. And that's all you need to remember. So that's something to mention.
Thanks for that. That's a good one.
Well, if you think about it, it's like, oh, wow, yeah. I was the stronger sperm that made it to the egg, Anyhow. But the thing I was going to say, in your intro, you were saying about what's mine and what's yours. But this is the thing about unity consciousness. It's like, it's all mine. And therefore, there is no you, to the extent that whatever is coming up in you that's triggering me is actually just a shadow aspect of me that I don't want to own. So I'm projecting it out there. So actually loving it all. And this is the thing, isn't it? Can we truly love it all, or are we judging and separating into good, bad, right, wrong, winners, losers? So it's like that, embracing the whole of the experience, which can be a bit of a challenge. Like, but I mean, that is the essence of Ho'oponopono, isn't it? I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. It's like anything that we've manifested, which we're sort of, oh no, I don't want any of that. It's, you know, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Thank you for showing up, because you're showing me something in myself that I can't look at or don't want to address. So I've projected it out there. So it's quite interesting, you know, the deeper we go with this work, the less sort of demons manifest. So on the subject, just to finish on the subject of the hot weather, my main problem with that is Kobe, because if I walk him in the really hot weather, he gets absolutely overheated and exhausted, and I
Yeah.
have to take water with me now, especially if I don't go early enough. And so it's quite a relief to have a rainy day here.
Oh, okay.
I have to take water, and I have to douse him down and give him water, and he's almost like he's going to flake out. So that's my main kind of. So I'm quite glad that the weather's broken today, and the waters and the garden is getting some rain, because MJ's planted a huge vegetable bed in the back garden, and all the grass is going brown from like a
Yeah.
week of heat wave. It's actually really such a relief this morning to wake up and hear torrential rain, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you think you never thought we'd say that in England, that we'd be glad to hear the rain, but lots of people are. I could hear people as I was walking the dog going, "Oh, oh, what a relief! It's so much better the weather when it's cooled down a bit, because we're just not geared up, are we? For hot. I
It
think it's
was
fine if
so
you're by the
hot though.
sea. Well,
Yeah,
you
it was
are by the
so
sea.
hot. Yeah, yeah. But inland it was, you know, obviously in the 30s. Yeah, here.
Yeah, my dog's the same, completely and utterly. That's what I'm saying. It's weird. Oh, the heat you think would generate more energy, because you'll get it's agitating your cellular, activity, so you're
Yes.
rising heat, rising energy, but it seems to, like with the animals, completely drain them. I mean, she's
Yeah.
literally flaked out once I've taken her for a walk. The rest of the day I have to take her earlier or go later on in the evening. So is anybody else finding that as well? But so Rachel, obviously, because it's only a small group of us, we can come in and out with any responses that may be elicited from what somebody may say. So don't feel you've got to you say your piece and that's it. But thank you for that contribution. That's great. I'm not sure I agree with you on the competition. I think it brings out the best in people. Um, and that we've got, life is a mixture of winning and losing, some that have and the have nots. I mean, it's just, where do you want to position yourself? I mean, you can't be brilliant at everything, and there's going to be people better at some things and worse at other things. But do we have to wrap people in cotton wool and go, don't worry, dear, everyone's brilliant, and it doesn't matter if you don't win? But in fact, winning is gives people the incentive to strive for what's ever best. So that's my take on it. Val, will come over to you and see what you have to say. Thanks, Rachel. If you'd like to
I,
unmute
I
yourself.
think I think Karine might have been before me.
Oh,
So
sorry, Karina, I'm not doing very well with the old hosting here, am I? It's the heat. It's gone to my head. Sorry, Karine, if you'd like to. Sorry, Val, we will come back to you. There's plenty of time for us all to have a good old chin wag. If you'd like, there we go. Lovely. Hi, darling.
Hello. Hi. Yes. I honestly don't mind when I speak. I just thought I'd show willing.
Thank you.
Various things. I would just like to say, especially linking in with the Mary Magdalene journey that I've been on, SAS has been part of that. It's very much, as well as Sacred Union, which I feel really, really is so powerful in these times. So the divine feminine also rising up and being supported by the divine masculine, that feels this is the time. And in Kundalini Yoga, I teach Kundalini Yoga. Yogi Bhajan talks a lot about this time is when women really honor their divinity. You know, this time coming forward is for the balance with women rising up, so that then there will be a balance and healing for the world. When I can't remember quite the quote, but yes, very interesting. And today, really, I'm just delighted. I've not been terribly well. It's like I've not been really ill, but my energy, my physical energy has been very weak for several months actually. And today was my first day for swimming. It's a place called Vobster, and you have to be able to swim 350 meters because it's an old quarry, very deep.
Ooh.
And today is my first day of being in that sacred water. And I tell you, I am so happy to have been immersed in this beautiful, fresh, spring-fed water in the Mendips. So that's my happy place. And also I feel, I know there's a whole load of shit going down right now, but
Yep.
actually I feel that is a real time of renewal, and I feel that in myself. And I just want to share, I see an amazing naturopathic nutritionist, healer, and she's very involved now with biofield tuning. I don't know if people have heard of this, but it's basically using tuning forks, and it works with clearing the aura, what is held in the aura. So our trauma, it can even be ancestral trauma that one has parents or we have come in with, but it's an incredible, I mean, check it out online. There's a YouTube, now who was it? Anyway, check out biofield tuning on YouTube. That it's just incredible. And this woman talks about how she discovered the energy, how she realized that there were blocks in energy and changes in sounds which could indicate trauma at particular ages. And it is just extraordinary. And I feel I've had a few sessions and I just feel lighter. And it's like trauma I've carried all my life. There's something that's shifted. So it's very exciting. Quickly on competition. Well, I don't know. I used to love it when I was a child. And it was also good for me not to win as well. That was kind of part of it. I mean, I didn't like it, but it was good training, I suppose. Yeah, I just want to say, Nick and I, it's been Froome Festival this past 10 days, and we went to this extraordinary concert of this young woman called Maddie, she's French. I can't remember her first part of her name, but her mother is called Best. So bringing out the best. Maddie has just received the highest acclaim of student award from the French Paris Conservatoire for music. What? Yeah, no, it isn't called this. Anyway, it doesn't matter. French Conservatoire. And she played fiddle like I have never heard violin played before, and accompanied by this, again, another brilliant young woman playing the piano. And my God, I tell you, honestly, I have great hope and uplift for the world for young people of this excellence, just sharing their beauty and their dedication. And so that's probably all I want to say. I've said quite a lot for me, and just want to say thank you, and thank you to you, Sass, and to Rachel and Helen, of course, for hosting. And I know we'll have a summer break, but I just want to acknowledge you for holding this space for all of us over the last 4 or 5 years. It's fantastic. So thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Much appreciate your appreciation. Yes, it is. But it feels nourishing to hold space for this, for people to be able to share and speak. And maybe it will evolve. It's evolved, hasn't it, over the years, where we all were quite angry about what was going on, and we seem to come more and more into a place of acceptance. Not everybody, but obviously it feels as if we're kind of more balanced in the way that we see things and the way that we are expressing what's going on internally. And it's like we are going through the transformation, and some people are seeing it in a different way to others. So some people are just seeing all the trauma and all the terrible things that are going on, and other people are seeing the light within all of that that's shining through and breaking through. So it's really good to have so many positive people, because obviously that's what's projecting us into a better world. That's how I feel. But all the stuff has been dredged from the very bottom of the the shit show. Basically, it's what's coming up, and it needs to be cleansed. I mean, this is why I was interested about the feminine energy, because there's been such a rise. I've seen so many events now that are centered around the healing of the womb, womb healing and yoni steaming. And I'm just wondering if any of you have experienced womb healing or yoni steaming. My daughter, when I went to Bali, had this sort of a box made for her where she sits over it with all her friends. They have a box as well. Bring your box and we'll have a yoni steam collectively. And it's something that traditionally that women used to do, sit together and use herbs, sit on with hot water and just to cleanse all of their gynecological areas, female areas. So I'm wondering if there's any equivalent for men. Do they have anything that they can clean and steam their energies around that? I know Richard's shaking. So maybe the sweat lodge is the best thing for the men. And have anybody experienced a sweat lodge? Because that's one big massive steam, and how you felt about it. So that's another conversation, because I found that quite challenging to go into a small space with hardly any clothes on, following people in front of you that didn't have any clothes. Sorry. just the remembrance of it, and then feeling it was so beneficial after I've been in and I just felt every single person that becomes a member of parliament needs to strip off their suits and all of their masks and get into that sweat lodge, because it was just incredible what was in there with you. It was like all these amazing animal spirits and ancestors, and it was just incredible. So I'd love to hear if anybody has experiences of a sweat lodge. I mean, obviously these are all other cultures, their rituals, and we're bringing them over here. So I've seen lots of people are doing them over here. How do we feel about that as well? It's very interesting to see. Or what are our traditional rituals, for the Celts, but the sweat lodge seems to be a very good way of leveling everybody out. And getting you really into your body, and also dealing with your fears as they were coming up, because it can be a very claustrophobic experience. But it's just each round sort of tests you, and it gets deeper and deeper, and you get hotter and hotter and hotter. But then it just brings up, like I'm saying, heat brings up this sort of transformative energy that helps to allow people to release all sorts of things. It's an amazing experience going to a sweat lodge. I had a really fantastic experience with a whole volcanic rocks that I was given, and that's a whole story I need to write, really, because it was incredible what happened to them and where they ended up. So anyway, I shall stop chatting, because but it also elicits, whenever you all talk, it elicits more thoughts and more sort of sharings. So Val, we'll come to Val next, and then we'll come to Eileen. And if the next person would like to think about what they would love to share, then we can then swiftly move on to another. So Val.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, darling.
Yeah, I was grinning when you were talking about the sweat lodge, because that I don't know about other people, but through my life and my husband's life as well, we have these seminal moments where we remember something happening really clearly, and it was usually because something really important happened, or it was a turning point or a lesson or whatever. And both of us went on a sweat lodge, and we went. This sweat lodge was near to Birmingham, where we lived at the time. This was back in the 90s, I think, and it was on a hillside. Well, it was an estate, very awake couple who hosted this sweat lodge on their site, and it was on a hillside somewhere like Bromsgrove, overlooking trees and houses and what have you. But anyway, to cut a long story short, I wear contact lenses, so I had to take those out, and I left my glasses. Some people built a sort of, I don't know what it was really, a sort of channel that went into the sweat lodge, so it was supposed to bless things. So I put my glasses on there, and but the sweat lodge itself was pretty powerful. I had to make sure I was sitting by the door, because I get a little bit claustrophobic. But that was pretty amazing. But the thing that I think was most significant is, while we were in the sweat lodge, a thunderstorm happened. And so all we could hear was this rain, and it was beating down on the tent. And when we came out the sweat lodge, I mean, we came out on our hands and knees, and because it was so wet, it was muddy. And so we slid out naked, like we were being born.
Yeah.
And we laid on the grass, the warm grass with the rain on us, and it was like, bloody hell, I feel like I've just been born or something. It was incredible. And
Yeah.
my husband Sid had a similar experience. We go, oh my God, do you remember that? It was amazing. um, so that we did go on another sweat lodge, but that first one was the really significant. I don't know quite what happened, but it felt very powerful. Let's put it like that. Um, but anyway, yeah, to go back to what we're talking about, there's so many things people have mentioned I could talk about. But yeah, the heat kind of saps me a bit. I'm more of a temperate girl. I like it a little bit cooler. But we're fortunate that we have a house that is quite, well, I say old, it's 1911, I think. So when you come in the house, it's a little cooler, but out in the garden, it's been like being in the Mediterranean or Turkey. My husband loves the heat and it energizes him. And he
Ah,
says he's been sun gazing and looking directly at the sun, and he reckons there's codes and messages coming through
yeah.
from the sun, which is different from years ago. It's changed. So he's kind of getting a lot from that, and we're both going out and grounding every day, and I'm trying to expose my eyes to the sunshine,
Yeah.
naked eyes to the sunshine,
Naked
because
eyes.
that's supposed to be very beneficial, and as is the grounding as well. Um, and I kind of feel like I'm turning into a hermit, but I'm kind of happy about it. I feel like this is our sanctuary, and the garden is very healing, even though it's wild. It's very healing, and we got surrounded by large trees. And although there's a main road, you kind of almost forget that's there. And yeah, so I go out and get a burst of sunshine and then come back in. Um, but I do feel like a lot of stuff's been happening, especially since Beltane, since May.
Yeah.
An awful lot have been happening. It feels like something's kind of released or I don't know, building up. It feels like I know there's all sorts of negative stuff going on, but I just don't feel at all connected to it. I feel like they're making a lot of noise out there and blustering and threatening, but I don't feel like these things are going to happen somehow. I don't know. I think there's an awful lot of threatening, abusive stuff going on, but I think in the long term, it's not going to come to fruition. At least that's how I feel anyway. Um, but I also think it's partly to do with, and this is keying into the whole competition stuff, and having competitions. Um, I feel like it's not so much, perhaps we shouldn't be looking at it as either or, rather than looking at winning or going down the woke route of the other way, so to speak. Maybe it's to do with how we approach doing things. So, like, everybody is brilliant, but they're all brilliant at different things. Maybe not everyone's good at racing, maybe not everyone's good at high jump or whatever. And maybe it should be more to do with finding out what people are good at and celebrating that. I
Mm.
mean, my impression is of Steiner schools, although I don't know much about them, is that they try and find out what each child is good at and sort of focus the education around that. And that seems to me a really great idea, good idea. I was never very good at sports, but I always came first in art, but never
Well,
very
there you
good
go.
at sports. So, I mean that did help because obviously I was pretty bad at all the physical stuff, and that helped. But yeah, I think my husband and I actually back in the 90s we did a thing and it was called cooperative play. It was like a movement. I don't know whether it still exists,
Sounds
where the
fun.
idea was that you did activities you could do with adults or with children, and there wasn't a winner or a loser, but they were just silly, crazy games that you played together just for the fun of it and just for the hell of it. And that was lovely to do, actually. And people just loved being given permission to play, whether it was children or adults, actually. And although I don't know whether that was all part of that sort of PC agenda, but actually I could see something like that coming back, maybe, or I don't know, looking at it in the future. I just feel our attitudes are still quite embedded in the 3D, and that we need to look at each situation and think, is there another way we could do that, or a better way of doing that, or a better way of approaching it? So
Yes,
yeah,
do you remember the Record Breakers with Roy Castle?
I vaguely
Record
remember that.
breakers. If you want to be the rest, if you want to be the best, if you want to beat the rest, dedication, that's what you need. But I mean, I still used to quite like that. But if there's no, I mean, I don't know how Rachel will feel about competition in business as well. Does it raise the standards if we've got competition, or is it just one stop shop, if you know what I mean? Does that mean that the standards are lower because there's no one else to sort of raise the bar with? There's only one person you go to business. There's only one business in that kind, and they can be as
I think it is about attitude. I think it's somebody like Cryon or Bashar has said that, in the future, for example, you might have politicians from different parties, but instead of saying, oh, he's a bad guy and his politics are rubbish, they're actually saying, well, this is who I am and this is my politics, but listen to him because he's got something to say as well. So it's like respecting and valuing other people and what they have to offer, even if it's different from you. So I just feel like that is a better way to be, perhaps in the future.
And anything to say on the other matter, which is the Carnegie, Carnegie, spelled CALERGI. It's a plan which was set in motion a long time ago to eradicate the annoying white Europeans, because they're quite they stand up for themselves.
I think there's a lot of annoying people of all races, actually. I don't think we're exclusively the bad people.
Would it be such a bad thing just to clear us all out?
I have to confess, I do read sort of stuff that's quite conspiracy based, and there's an awful lot of stuff. Oh, Islam's going to take over the UK and stuff like that. And again, I just feel like we're still sort of stuck in this us and them stuff, I think we need to fundamentally change. And I hope and I think the Christ consciousness that's coming in is going to change that. But it may take time, because some people are so deeply entrenched in this, like, you're a white person, so you're bad, and I'm black, so I've been abused. And it's very polarized, and I feel like that needs to go. We need to be more respectful of each other and valuing each other and looking for solutions rather than divisions, myself, anyway.
That's the way to keep us disempowered, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, is to create the divisions that keeps us weak. So that is probably a very good point. Yes.
Yeah, it seems like people, certainly in the past anyway, were always looking to argue or make blame. And I'm guilty of that myself. But I think also, rather than saying that person did wrong, how about, is there a different way of approaching it? Can you forgive that person, or can you help them see a different solution, or could you have done something different that might have changed the dynamics, and looking on all these things as lessons rather than just pointing the finger and saying you're wrong and I'm right,
So would you say that maybe you could set up a wise woman council?
I'm only just getting wise. It's taken me all this time. I think I'm a novice at it. Maybe, yeah.
I can see that that you've got that you're very measured in what you're saying. So it's actually, I can imagine you'd be very good at setting up a wise council to sort of deal with all the problems locally. How do we approach, instead of putting people in prison and locking them up, and so that they're sometimes with criminals that are obviously a lot more hardened. Does it actually serve the community or serve anyone to have people locked up in prison? It sounds like absolutely horrific, and some people have been put in there, aren't they, for the most minor offences, and they're mixing with people that are really very unsavoury. So does that raise other people up in the prison, or does it bring them down? So it's all about our vibrational choices. And has anybody been to prison and experienced anything like that? I mean, it's just really interesting to find out what's happening in our prisons, because it seems as if there doesn't seem to be any rehabilitation going on for people. And this is the thing, a lot of people aren't being rehabilitated. And we need to get outside more. You were talking about, I know I'm jumping from subject to subject, probably ADHD, but, you know, I quite enjoy having a mind that jumps from one thing to another, because it's you know, stimulating, isn't it, when you have different subjects that want to sort of be aired and addressed. But like you were saying about your sunglasses, I was just seeing this article yesterday saying that when you approach, you know, go outside without your sunglasses on, then obviously not only you're receiving information that activates DNA, strands of DNA, information and codes, but also it activates the melatonin by the sunlight in your eyes, which then gives you natural sun protection, rather than putting on a chemical shitstorm on your body, which then, unless you've got all natural stuff, obviously, but a lot of the sun creams that are commercially offered are actually the chemical
absolutely.
creation when they're in the sun is actually so bad for you. And I see people slathering it all over the little children. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's happening there with that activation with all those chemicals?
Yeah, well, I'm fine. I mean, both my husband and I'm really grateful that we both sort of seem to be developing and changing at the same time. But we've changed our lifestyle quite a lot recently. You know, like I say, we're going outside a lot more, exposing ourselves to the sunshine. We're changing our diet. I'm just feeling like there's certain things I don't want to eat anymore. And also, one of the things that I find really fascinating is all about water. There's a lot of stuff happening around water, being developed about water or being explored. I think I might have mentioned her before. There's a lady called Veda Austin from New Zealand, and she's just done a UK tour, I think. And basically, she's done some amazing experiments with water. But when you listen to her, you go, oh my God, you know, it's like water is a messenger, and there is talk about water actually being sentient and being like a sort of somehow a messenger of God, and
Definitely.
And then that changes your whole view about, you know, whether you drink tap water or filtered water, and what you shower in. And you are water, we are water. And what do you eat, and what do you take into your body that's got water in it? And suddenly everything's like, and you breathe out water, and clouds and rain are water. And I'm going, oh my God.
I know. So imagine what they've been doing to the water, though, Val.
Well,
imagine, you know, to bring, if you imagine if this is actually God consciousness in liquid form, and every time you spoke to it, it would follow the instructions of whatever direction you gave it.
Yeah.
But by putting it through salination plants or putting it through all the treatments, and all the different chemicals that go in there from people that are taking medications, the pill. Can you imagine what it's doing to the water?
Yeah.
So the only thing we can do is clear up our own water within where we are, and our water within ourselves. But Val, it's been a fascinating conversation. But because I've got a couple of hands up here, and you know, time slips away very, very quickly.
Sorry.
Don't apologise. It's absolutely fine. It's a fascinating conversation. It's always very interesting to get engaged in chats and things, and this is what it's all about, isn't it? But I do feel that maybe we just speak to Eileen and Richard before, and then you could always come back to you if you've got something else you want to say. Thank you for your contribution. Lovely to hear from you. Thanks, Val. If you'd like to unmute, and Eileen, and Val muted. Thank you. Can you remember what you're going to say now, Eileen, or is it just coming through?
I think most of it's probably been said.
Well, we haven't heard it all.
I was referring to Val. Can't remember what I put a thing about Val. Anyway, I just wondered. There's good and bad, and it's the way that they're brainwashing young children when they come into school. It's like there's no competition and everything. I mean, I was never good at sport. And if I look back on my childhood when I was at school, you know, are they trying to make all the children the same and very happy? In which case, some will be very frustrated. I think. I don't know. I'm a bit concerned about the motives, particularly with the government, World Economic Forum, where we're all being led, and they're working on I just think they're working on the children. as they come into the school, the way they're controlling the way they behave, their thoughts and everything. And I just feel they're sort of putting them in a certain direction, which I would be a bit concerned about. So when they don't want sports and they don't want racing and everything, I just wonder what is behind that. It may be positive, but what is really behind all that? So that's one thought that came to mind. And I mean, I'm the middle one with three girls. My sister and I, we're all entirely different. My older sister was very good at sport. I wasn't, and we all had our sort of things that we were good at. And I just wondered again, if it's ignoring astrology when you think of the natural, like Aries and Leo are leaders, aren't they? And you're trying to sort of go against somebody's natural astrological makeup,
Yeah.
trying to make everybody passive, and is it that they then can become more controlled? You see, I said I'm a bit sort of skeptical of all this. That's basically it.
Well, no, it's all food for thought, isn't it? Because people have different, obviously we all have different opinions, but I do believe that competition, it brings out, the higher qualities of people, because otherwise you've got nothing to vibe off. It's like if we have lots of different singers, don't we? Different opera singers, we have soul singers, we have all sorts of different. But do they compete or do they run alongside each other very nicely? And all the different genres are different, suits different people. But if we don't open up the field for people to excel, then do we get a lesser version of ourselves than if we were? I mean, maybe your competition with your brothers, Rachel, brought you to where you are now. Partly the competition because it made you strive to want to be better than them. So it gives you a benchmark for something to work towards. I don't know. I'm just opening it up. That's my feeling. But I also appreciate that it's a way of dividing people. But I think that's the natural order of humanity, is that you're going to get people that are good at this, some that are not. It's playing to your strengths, isn't it? But unless you have that competition to start with, how do you know where your strengths lie?
Yeah.
Until you realise you've always come last in the 100-metre race.
Yeah.
That maybe that's not your forte.
Yeah.
And can we accept that we're not good at everything? Do we have to be good at everything?
Yeah.
That's also there's a fantastic quote at Wimbledon, basically saying, can you treat both defeat and victory with the same, in the same manner? Are you going to be thrown by being defeated? Does that mean that you're going to go underground and you're not going to try again? Or does it make you want to come back even stronger? So, and also, can we be as gracious in our winning as we are in our losing? So in many ways, it gives people opportunities to play out different aspects of how they deal with life, because life does tend to, how about animals? They compete for food, don't they? They compete for territory. Is it part of the natural order? So thank you, Eileen, for your contribution. It's lovely to see you and hear from you again, and feel free to come back in, but I'd like to make sure that Richard gets an opportunity to share before the end of the session. So hi, Richard. Do you want to unmute yourself? Wonderful, thank you. So have you got anything to say on any of the subjects that we've spoken about, or have you got your own that you want to bring to the fore?
Well, is my microphone working? I have unmuted.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Good. Okay. You brought up prisons, which is why I've come on, because I have a deep friend who's in prison on the Isle of Man, who I'll be visiting on Thursday. I visit her once a month. The situation in prisons on the island is crazy. Most of the population of the prison are drug mules, I think would be the way I would describe them. They aren't involved. They're involved in supplying narcotics, but they're not the major players. They're the mules that carry the stuff. And a fair proportion of them aren't even Manx. They've come over and been caught arriving or in possession of drugs and have been imprisoned for it. There are other contingencies in the prison, but there's virtually zero rehabilitation is going on. They claim there's rehabilitation, but there's no evidence of it at all. It's crazy. And anyone who disagrees politically or does things that they don't like can get into jail. I mean, this woman who I'm going to visit was not able to defend herself in court at all, because she went to trial and the duty solicitor, first of all, wasn't around to give her a hand, and she had no legal advice, but they still carried on with the trial. They then committed her to the jail delivery trial, which is like the High Court, and she was convicted of that. And again, she was protesting to the judge that she hadn't got any legal advice or access to any solicitor, but he wouldn't accept this and still carried on with the case. And she complained about it twice or maybe 3 times. And the defense barrister, advocate as they call him, the other man, came up and said, well, I think you should take her out of the court. She can't complain like this. And so the judge did. So she wasn't there for her own trial with the jury, and she wasn't allowed to present her own evidence because she wasn't there, and she was in jail. She's been in jail ever since. They've also, the sentence has already expired, but they've claimed the proceeds of crime, again, which she didn't get a chance to defend, which bangs another 2 or 3 years on this. And they're still arguing with her about how they calculate how much the proceeds of crime costs and when her actual exit date is. They've given her 4 different leaving dates for the prison, and she hasn't had any legal representation or legal help at all. It's a system that's basically very, very broken. There was a guy, a personal friend of mine, who's written 2 books on vaccines, or the lacks of them. He's very much an antivirus person, and he was fined £1,000 for walking his dog on a beach that he shouldn't have been.
£1,000?
Oh yes, and then they locked.
Gosh.
And then they locked him up for a number of months for emailing
The dog or the owner?
The owner. This is for another offence. He was complaining about various things with the coronavirus and how it was killing people and everything else. And he was criticising someone in the health organisation, which is called. I like to call it Man Scare rather than Manx Care, which is his real name. But I prefer to call it Man Scare because it is more frightening than that. Anyway, he was criticising this woman, and so she did him for harassment just by sending emails, and that's why he ended him in jail for, I think it was about 6 months. He's out now. Yeah, as I said. The system is somewhat broken over here, but
is that where you are, Richard?
That's where I am. I am here at the moment. Yeah, there's another guy who's fighting the system back, and this isn't publicised at all in the press. But he was visiting a beach during lockdown, and several other people were also visiting the beach, and he got accused of organising it and creating an assembly, which is total nonsense. They had all decided to go and swim in the beach, and they didn't lock him up, but they grabbed him in his swimming trunks and put him in the back of a police van down to the police station and tried various other things. Eventually, they dropped all charges against him, but because of the way he was treated, he's now pursuing them, and that'll be interesting to see what happens. But that isn't being publicised. Because they don't want the bad news.
That is so fascist. It's unbelievable. Well, it's
Absolutely.
like that. It's like that here, isn't it? It's becoming a fascist state.
It's very similar. There's not very much difference, but it's a crazy thing. There's only one. There's only one little section in the prison which is different from the rest. There's 3 male wards, and one of them is for people who've been paedophilic or have got some weird perversion or something like that. That is the only bit of the prison that's different. But we're talking about probably, I think, only about 150 prisoners or something for the island, and it's nearly full, which is crazy. It means they don't get time out and this kind of stuff. And nobody wants to, very few people appear to want to work in the prison either. They recruit new staff, and they tend to leave within months of training because they can't stand it anymore. It's a crazy situation. But as I say, I'll be seeing this woman on Thursday, and we have to face up to it and talk about what's going on and see what we can do. That's what happens all the time.
But there's no rehabilitation, or I mean, some of the so-called crimes that they aren't crimes because there's no victim, and this is the thing.
Correct. That's exactly, in her case, that's correct.
How does that work then when our constitutional rights and the common law is do no harm, cause loss or injury?
Absolutely.
And a lot of the crimes, there isn't that the case. It's just perceived, isn't it? It's perceived harm, especially with all the people saying nasty, hurty words. We're going to put them in jail. But then let's take, for example, I hope it might be inflammatory, but the grooming gangs, young girls, all the trafficking that's going on, it doesn't seem like they're coming down at all hard on these people.
No, they have a suspended sentence. They just have a suspended sentence. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. So I was just going to, when are you next in court, Rachel? Because you're still battling with that, aren't you?
I'm in court on Friday at Worcester Crown Court, appealing my criminal conviction for not filling in a form.
Absolutely outrageous.
And I'm going to be asserting my right to a trial by jury because I have been found guilty of being a criminal for not filling out a form. There was no victim. I didn't have a fair trial because he basically ejected me from the courtroom on the basis that he's going to declare me in contempt, this Judge Strongman. So I've appealed, and I'm appealing against my criminal conviction on Friday, and hopefully Dean is coming with me.
I mean, the whole system is completely corrupt, isn't it? And we've really, more and more people are standing up to this infamy. It's just absolutely horrendous what's going on.
But they're putting more people
in jail.
Yes, sorry, the court backlogs are huge. The justice system, because everyone is challenging it, all the civil cases, all the criminal cases, and it's really important for us to challenge, because if everyone challenged, the whole system would just collapse, and
Absolutely.
It's
I've just had my third
chaos.
summons to the courts. I've just been, I didn't go because I don't even recognise the things they sent me, because they just printed summons from the council, and the only authentic summons is from the courts.
Yes.
From from a judge or from a court clerk of the justice or whatever they're called. And how can they justify just sending out photocopies of a summons?
They can't.
And then ask for a liability order, which don't exist and haven't done since 2003. So how are they getting away with all of this? I don't understand how it can just, the whole justice system fall apart. And now they're trying to say, the justice system is falling apart, so we need to have very few trial by juries. And they just want to sort of speed everything up so it becomes a business centres of just getting money off people, or if you're hurting people with your words or you're standing up for yourself, then you go to jail. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. So I don't really know what the answer is, but we're all having to do our little bit and fight our little corner to say, no, I'm standing in my power here. I'm standing in my sovereignty. I don't consent to this being sent to court. So this is a whole other subject for next time, because it is now 1:04. And even though there's only been a small little group, it's been a very sort of, feisty conversation. And I thank you all for coming on and for your loyalty, for coming back every 2 weeks. And Rachel, I just decided it might be good just to have a break for maybe 6 weeks, just so we can regather ourselves and the stuff going on in the summer. Just so you feel, because obviously you know it's on every 2 weeks. You want to be here, and sometimes it's sort of conflicted with other things that may be going on. So we thought a break till the 1st of September, which is the Monday, the first one in September. The Rachel would be the host for that, and then we'll continue and see how we can evolve and what we'd like to maybe evolve this, and maybe subjects that you'd like to bring in, things you'd like to open up and discuss, because it's all about the people. It's all about all of us. And I want everyone to feel as if what their interests are included in our discussions, because obviously I go with what I feel is interesting myself, but it might be different for you. So any suggestions of things you'd like to bring, topics, please feel free to to put them in the chat, and we can discuss them next time. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a fantastic summer. Keep feisty, keep standing up for yourself. Good luck, Rachel, next Friday. Perhaps you can let us know how that goes in your People Speaks Out, or on your channel, Rachel Speaks Out. And it's just been a wonderful, very lovely conversation, and very interesting. And thanks all for your contributions. Much love. Take care. Keep grounded and keep cool, whatever's going on. So I'd like to wave to everybody. And these recordings, which I would normally put up on Odyssey, but because this computer doesn't let me record for some reason, Rachel will be putting it up on her channel, so I think it'll be YouTube, will it, Rachel? Yeah.
Yes.
So you can find this on YouTube, and please invite anybody for the new season in September to come along. Anybody who you think might like to contribute, might like to share some of their thoughts and feelings, then we'd be very happy to expand to more people. So lots of love. Take care. Thanks for joining us, and have a great summer. See you in September.